a Chicago cafe. The chefs are the best and the menus are so gourmet. The best cuisine on the scene is in Chicagoland, USA. Great chefs of Chicago. Great chefs of Chicago. World-class cooking, continental style. The recipe will make you linger a little while. Great chefs of Chicago.
Welcome to Great Chefs of Chicago, a television masterclass with chefs of some of the finest restaurants in the Chicago metropolitan area. This time, Winnetka Grill and Chef John Draz. Surprisingly young at 23, Chef Draz studied at the Continental Cooking School in his native Illinois, then attended the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. He worked in several Chicago restaurants, including a stint as sous chef at the Ritz-Carlton. He is representative of a new breed of young chefs who, rather than chopping parsley for you, are impatient to actively explore American cooking. The Winnetka Grill provides a good forum. Owners Henry Markwood and John Stoltzman, himself a chef, relentlessly pursue regional cooking trends, including on occasion the newest rage, Cajun dishes from Louisiana. Perhaps an odd gesture in the affluent conservative suburb of Winnetka, but illustrative of the inventive spirit at the restaurant. The menu for this program is a good example and is all American.
The appetizer, oysters with ham served on fried parsley, is a hit at Winnetka Grill. Oysters on the half shell get treatment reminiscent of New Orleans cookery here.
Cut the top part of the mussel off and the bottom part. You notice the oysters can be rinsed if you want. Some people don't like the mud, other people don't mind it. 8 ounces softened butter. Place it in a mixing bowl.
The chef begins a butter mixture that tops the oysters.
I'll then dice 2 shallots. Add 2 tablespoons parsley, chopped, teaspoon of fennel seed, and the juice of half a lemon without the seeds, and a pinch of salt and white pepper.
Smoked ham is diced here, but you can use the more assertive country ham if you wish.
I'll put a pinch of ham on each oyster. A dollop of our compound butter here. Dollop according to the size of the oyster.
Chef Draz places the oysters over fairly high fire with mesquite and covers for about 5 minutes. A good deal of parsley is deep fried. It is drained before presentation. The oysters are ready when the edges begin to curl.
take the lowly, humble, and unappealing butternut squash and make something fantastic out of it. First, it's got to be trimmed. Trimming the squash using a French knife saves a lot more time. I'm going to cut the stem from the bulb because the bulb has to be seeded. Compared to using a regular household peeler, it's a slight bit more waste, but for what you save in time, since the skin is so hard, you could probably wreck 2 peelers by the time you get a decent-sized piece of butternut squash done.
The chef scoops out the seeds and pulp from the bottom of the squash.
Same thing with the other half. Next step is to dice the squash. Small cubes. The smaller you dice them, the quicker they'll steam. The bottom half is a little harder to do because it's obviously curved and not straight little pieces. Then take the squash over to the stove and we'll place it in our steamer. It's just a regular pot with an insert like this. Recover that, and it'll take about 10 minutes.
Steamed squash is processed.
This way, steaming rather than boiling, the squash doesn't pick up as much moisture, and the making the filling for the ravioli is a lot easier. We'll put it in, and finally puree it. Stop, scrape down the sides, make sure there's no little pieces there. We'll season it with a little salt and white pepper, and the important ingredient, a tiny pinch of nutmeg. Turn it back on, and taste it. Darn good. Okay, the next step is to take it out of the food processor and let it cool. Take the already rolled out sheets of pasta and brush the entire sheet with a light coat of egg wash. Okay. Then take our cooled squash puree and place the raviolis on the sheet. I'll then fold the sheet towards me, and between the parts where the squash is, I'll press it together and force out any excess air. Now with a crimping wheel, this is a wheel that crimps and cuts at the same time, I'll trim the 3 open sides, trim and seal the 3 open sides of the sheet of pasta. And there we have the raviolis.
2½ cups of cream reduced begin the sauce.
I'm going to turn the heat down. Simmer it. Only takes a minute or 2 to reduce, only slightly. The recipe says 2/3. It'll get a nice, it'll slice it slightly thicker, so it gets to the point where it nicely coats the back of a spoon. At that point, we add a 1/2 cup of fresh grated Asiago cheese.
Asiago is an Italian cheese similar to Pecorino.
Whip that in. Bring it back to a simmer to dissolve the cheese. You don't want to boil it too long. Taste. Correct the seasoning with a pinch of salt and white pepper. I'm going to taste the tip. And that's it.
The ravioli go into salted boiling water for 2 minutes.
Okay. Now that they're rapidly boiling, and they're all separate, carefully remove them from here. Put them into the pan with the sauce. Of course, we want the noodles al dente. And that's it. Toss them around so they all get nicely coated with the sauce. Bring them back. And we will portion for order. Sauce there. To finish serving, grate a little bit of fresh Asiago cheese over the top, a little parsley, a little bit for color, and we'll finish it with a sprig of parsley. First thing, I'm going to start with the pork loin. This is the piece of Canadian boneless. I hope you won't show this part here, because the meat company somebody screwed up. But anyways, it's got a nice coating of fat on it, and there's the eye of the loin. What I'm going to do is take the knife, insert it all the way through to the other end, and make a slit about 2 inches long, 2.5 inches long, that goes all the way through.
The stuffing starts with a peeled, cored, and diced apple.
Say Granny Smith apple. What we need is, for this recipe, is a tart cooking apple, not a sweet one, and one that'll hold up and have a little texture to it. When it's cooked, it won't turn to mush. It's the way I like to core apples. I think it's the quickest way. Just cut the entire core right out, quarter it. Okay. The advantage of cutting the apple that way, you've got a nice flat surface to lay the apple down on when you chop it. I'll place the diced apple into the mixing bowl and then add the remaining ingredients for the stuffing. That being 3 cups of crumbled cornbread and 6 ounces of fresh ground pork. To moisten that, add a cup of apple cider, some parsley for color and flavor, and I'll season it with a little bit of, very small amount of, since they are fresh herbs, fresh thyme and fresh rosemary. Remove the leaves of thyme from the stem, pulling backwards on them, and just a little bit of fresh rosemary. Mince that up. Let's do that shot again. Okay. And we'll mix it up and season it with some salt and white pepper. Okay. And you want to kind of test the consistency with your hand so that it is moist enough. If not, you need to add a little more cider. Okay, I have a pastry bag here, which has a little larger than usual hole cut at the tip of it. That's so we can get the pieces of apple and everything else through the end of the tube. We'll fill the pastry bag about half full with the stuffing, enough so that we can, since it is a little thick, squeeze it through. Okay, now I'll demonstrate to the camera. I'll insert the pastry bag as far as I can get into the eye and squeeze the stuffing in. Okay. Then I'll do the same thing from the other side so that it's right now half full. Inserting the tube as far as it goes and pretty much filling it up and pulling out the at the end, then kind of roll it to get all the stuffing evenly distributed. And before we grill it, I'll season it with some salt mixed with black pepper.
The roast goes under a portable smoking hood for 1.5 hours or until reaching an internal temperature of 150 degrees. If cooked in an oven, roast covered for 1.5 hours at 350 degrees.
Okay.
The sauce includes melted butter and chopped shallots, cooked until translucent.
Okay. And I'll add 2 tablespoons shallots. It's a very quick sauce. Once the shallots have simmered enough, again, we're using apple cider. I'll put a cup of apple cider into the pan. Let that reduce. Since it's not a large amount, it won't take long. Reduce by about half, still simmering. At this point, I'll put in 2 cups of demi-glace. This is a reduced brown veal stock. Bring that to a boil. I see a little bit more foam there. And then to finish the sauce, I'll add a shot of Applejack brandy away from the flame so as not to burn the entire bottle up. Bring it to a boil to burn off most the harsh alcohol flavor. Take it off the stove. Okay, what I have here is a fine chinois strainer. It's a fine mesh. And we'll pour the sauce through it to strain out the shallots.
The sauce is finished and Chef Draws checks the roast with an instant thermometer. Let it rest for 20 minutes before carving.
And we will carve it. And there we see the stuffing in the center. Pork is cooked all the way through with a nice charred charcoal flavor on the outside. And I'll slice 4 thin slices per order. Dress the bottom of the plate with the sauce. You can see the nice clear color. Save the end piece for someone who wants it. Serve the pork on the sauce.
Carrots and small yellow squash complete presentation.
And as for all red meats, small bouquet of watercress. Nice coating of butter on the bottom. And then the sides.
A springform pan is buttered. The bottom is also lined with a buttered
Place the
parchment round.
parchment circle inside the bottom of the pan. Wipe our buttery fingers here. Place it down flat, and then we'll snap the pan around so that we're sure it's in all the way around. Then put some sugar in the bowl, and I'll work the sugar around to coat the whole thing. I'm not using flour because it's a flourless cake. It's kind of the same thing you do for a souffle.
Meanwhile, 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate is melted in a double bowl.
It's almost all melted. Some of the larger pieces are still in there. Melt it well. Then I'll add a half pound of butter, soft, cut into small pieces, and incorporate that into the chocolate.
The chocolate mixture will be joined with beaten separated egg yolks and whites, which comprise the flourless batter.
And when it gets to that point, we'll take it off the double boiler and set it aside. Keep it in a warm place. If you leave it in a cool place, it'll solidify and you'll have to melt it.
The whites of 8 eggs are beaten to a frothy stage before half of the 1½ cups of sugar is added.
Okay, when they get to this kind of frothy state where they have a little air whipped into them and they've started by eye, this isn't important that you do it by measurement because it's all going to go into the cake. I'll add half the sugar and continue whipping the egg whites till they get to stiff peaks. Okay. Like we said, nice stiff peaks. Okay.
The 8 yolks are then beaten separately.
With the other half of the sugar.
The yolks will be beaten to the ribbon stage before the chocolate mixture and flavoring is added. The chocolate mixture is incorporated into the yolks and sugar.
Mix that up till it's incorporated nicely. And we'll also add half of a cup of bourbon. The rest of the egg whites.
The egg whites are quickly folded into the yolk chocolate mixture along with a pound of finely ground pecans.
And the rest of the pecans. Fold it in until everything is nicely incorporated. And then it's important to immediately put it into your buttered and sugared pan.
The cake bakes for 1½ to 1 3/4 hours.
And put it straight away, into the 300-degree oven. The longer it sits, the more volume it loses. Trim it up so we have a flat surface. We're going to use the bottom as the top and the top as the bottom, but so that it sits on the platter or the whatever we're going to serve it on nicely. With a knife like this, we'll trim around the edges, place it on top, and we'll invert it, and then take that off.
Glaze for the cake is a pound of melted semi-sweet chocolate and 1/3 cup of vegetable oil.
We'll nap the sides.
The cake is glazed on a rack, then topped with pecan halves.
The cake should sit in a cool place for about a half hour so that the chocolate solidifies. The refrigerator is just fine if you want to expedite that time, and it may even take as little as 15 minutes. And the glaze will set up and then will stay solid enough so that it has a nice chocolate coating on it, much like a candy bar.
Chef Draz and owners John Stoltzman on the left and Henry Markwood suggest either Champagne or Sauvignon Blanc with the appetizers, a Pinot Noir with the pork, and a Sensia Orange Muscat with dessert.
And now dinner is served. Join us next time for more cooking excitement. This menu compliments of Winnetka Grill and John Draz, another great chef of Chicago.
You'll always find them in Chicagoland. You'll learn all their tricks. You'll understand why eating is kicks in Chicagoland. Come wine and dine where love began. Great chefs, great food, great fun in Chicagoland. Yeah, Chicagoland.